Anthony Giordano,
Present and accounted for.
Frank Zarabello, Shirley Obin,
Present.
Camille Casaretti,
Present.
Marjorie Dinstad,
She's not.
Renita Parsons,
Present.
Teresa Tierney,
Present.
Sharon Odwin, Mahisha Sapp,
Present.
Alice Hope,
Present.
Marty Dinstag present.
Am I not
Present here.
today? I have to be. As the-
Noting of the
as
minutes.
As the DOE, as the chancellor representative.
You're welcome to attend.
Oh, I don't want to attend if I don't have to. I
I
was
will
told that I
accept
had
the
to.
motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of February 10th
Can you check that?
unanimously.
I made motion, firm.
Motion,
I second Alice.
what's the question? Let's side.
I was told,
She's required to be.
yeah, I was told that as the DOE chancellor's representative, I have to be on the audit committee. And if I don't, I'm out of here. Because I got plenty to do. But no, seriously, real talk. Do you mind, Sam? Thank you. I'm racing here.
We need you here. Anyway, okay. There was a question. We've got a motion on the floor by Shirley to accept the minutes unanimously. Seconded by Alice. Any opposition? Any abstention? Motion carries. First, okay, we did the minutes. Got that. Going good. We're cooking like gas. Next item on the agenda is the election of the chair of the audit committee. May I have a motion to consider?
Motion, Shirley.
Second, Camille.
Okay. The chair will rotate annually and should have knowledge of changing issues within the public sector pension administration, enterprise risk management, internal controls and nature of internal audit environment, firm's risk profile and its business priorities. Are there any questions about the responsibility of the audit committee chair? So I will at this time accept nomination. So it says I have to rotate out. So this time I will accept nominations. I would have not, and I'm being told that we cannot, we should have Sam for this too. We cannot nominate alternates. I don't know why that would be.
Because they don't vote, it's their person they alternate.
All right, this is my question would be, if I resign and, well, the question would be, if I resign and have Alice replace me, could she then run for chair?
Why not?
I don't know, you have to actually go, so I don't see why not.
Because I think the only one more meticulous,
Just nominate
the
her.
the only one more meticulous than a day is Alice. So the two of them together, will audit everything in the world times 3. So I couldn't think. So as the outgoing chair, I'm going to step down from the audit committee and select as my replacement, I can't so vote for chair, but to replace me on the board. We have no lawyer to tell us we can't do it, so yay.
You can do it.
Yeah, okay. I am out of here. Take the gavel. Well, someone's got to take the gavel.
We don't have to vote.
No.
She's the chair because she's the alternate. He resigned. So now we're gonna do election.
There we go.
She's.
What should I present over the
Who
election?
resigned? Wait,
He just did.
why?
No.
We shouldn't have to, we should, well, we have to, I'm leaving, I'm stepping down.
Are you stepping down because, are you stepping down because of the term or you're stepping down independently?
What's happening here?
Both.
What's happening?
So Alice is an alternate. I was gonna nominate Al, I think Alice would be I was gonna nominate Alice to run for chair. But we're told alternates cannot run for chair. I don't know why. So I'm gonna step down and have my spot open and.
So don't we have to vote on it on the full
The
board?
term would still be
Yeah, the term,
them,
but-
so then she would
Exactly.
be out.
Right,
and
no.
she wouldn't be able
I
to-
think we have an election now.
What is
I think we have an election.
Yeah.
I'm saying just a spot, the spot changes,
Just the spot.
just the spot changes. She's taking my spot. She's not gonna be the chair. Now we can have an election.
Okay,
So
so
can you
what?
help me understand what's happening here?
So Ade and I,
Yeah, he's resigning, so she's the alternate, so right now, she's the chair, so she can be
I
nominated.
have to, I can't be chair.
Why to be the chair?
Alice just stepped down as the
Rotating.
alternate.
But she's not a member,
As
then
of
she's not a
next
member,
term?
she's
Yeah,
still
it's
not a
it.
member.
It's 1 year, 1 year
She's
term.
not a
My
member.
1 year is over.
She's not on the committee anymore. She has no voting rights.
Oh, so basically.
Well, if no one else wants it, I can stay. I just want to see if we get a Alice take over.
Where?
But he actually stepped down,
I stepped down, right?
And then automatically.
and then there's a vacancy and we do the elections again. That's-
There we go.
well,
Okay.
Mr. Temporary Chair, can I just one thing? Ade and I talked about this previously. And I think we had a meeting of the minds that it may make sense.
Okay.
To extend your position at least a month. And if there is a
That makes sense.
significant, if there's a significant change in PEP membership, I,
Big power.
well, and I think we can do that. Just extend his position for a
That makes
month
sense.
in favor of the PEP
Until June.
volatility that's coming.
Does the board have to?
That's just a simple answer to, let's keep the meeting going and then worry about it after the PEP.
Hold on, you used the term volatility.
Volatility.
How about this?
What are we speaking about, Sandy?
Well, so
Unprofessional.
It is.
the last time we had a
I'm gonna
significant,
accept a motion to table elections until next meeting.
the last time we had a
I
significant
think
PEP
you
event,
So I retract my resignation. It
we
wasn't right.
anticipated it by a couple of months, created the executive committee, and for a period of 3 months, there was no PEP.
Okay,
As the question of who actually is nominated by boroughs and elected and mayors, and it takes, it's not a weekend they spend figuring it out. It's like, it takes them like 2 or 3 months. I mean, I
Okay.
think we missed 3 board meetings in a row. January, February,
Trying to
March,
teach Camille.
2022, maybe it was. And so I would expect volatility in PEP may lead us, it's a good thing it's in the summer, because we generally don't meet in the summer, right? So, yeah,
Fine.
there may not be trustees.
So I will entertain, I will entertain a motion to table elections until the next meeting of the audit committee.
Could be August.
We don't meet in the summer, we do.
We probably will not meet in the August. I think you should anticipate September, given the potential volatility of PEP and summer.
this isn't a full board
Expect September.
election?
No,
Never?
not.
I'm a second.
There we go. He's here. I love it.
Moving on.
And all those in favor?
I
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Did you say? She's a peach. Motion carries. Okay. Now let's get into serious business. Well, this is all serious. Okay, executive director's update.
You already got it. Thanks.
Got you. And the internal audit director's update next.
Thank you, Tony. All right, so quickly on the agenda today is a report of the external quality assessment of the internal audit function. So that is an audit of our audit function. And I have Jesse and Kerry here from CKH and they will present those reports.
I'll
And
take an audit this meeting.
cover the audits that have been completed since the last meeting of this committee, ongoing audits, an update on outstanding findings, and lastly, we'll discuss the internal audit strategy. All right, going right into the EQA report, Jesse.
Good afternoon. Everyone can hear me okay, right?
Perfect.
Perfect. So yeah, as Ade mentioned, what we'll be covering is recently over the past couple months, we did an external quality assessment with Ade and her team. And so our presentation will be relatively short. Most of it, we want to talk about the EQA results, but we're going to give you a little background on us, our team, and who worked on the project. An overview of essentially what an EQA does and the value it kind of provides, the scope and how we kind of scope out our project, what steps we take, what documents we look at, and then the crux of this conversation will be largely on the EQA results. And I'm going to allow time for questions and answers throughout. Thank you. So I have Carrie with me today, and myself. So we are a part of CKH. So a little bit, very brief background on our firm. We do co-sourced and outsourced internal audit services, everything from Sarbanes-Oxley work, forensic work, IT audits, and then EQA work, like such as this. So we've done it for other pension funds. We've done it for higher ed institutions, Fortune 500 companies. So when we went through this EQA assessment too, there's a lot of best practice opportunities we were able to highlight and note for further kind of enhancement opportunities. All right, next
Jesse, can I
slide.
hold 1 second?
I'll go.
Jesse, can I
Yeah, of
hold 1
course.
second? Ms. Payam, you are excused from this meeting if you'd like.
Great, sure.
Thank you. Sorry, Jesse, you can continue.
Oh, not a problem. And then, Ade, we can go to the next slide. And then, Ade, Sue, and Carrie, if there's anything I missed or overlooked or context you want to highlight, feel free to chime in also. So starting off, I'll very briefly go into what an EQA does. As part of our internal audit function and the standards we have, it's just basically an independent evaluation of each internal audit function, looking at the IIA standards. So as Ade kind of mentioned before, it's an audit of internal audit. Per the internal audit standards, we do these once every 5 years. And the outcome is basically, at the end of the day, there's a conformance rating across and highlighted improvement opportunities across 5 domains, 15 principles, and 52 standards. I'm not going to read all 52 standards, but basically the domains and the principles are just different categories and themes and how they're kind of being broken up. So it covers everything like ethics, team competency, alignment with organization, strategic objectives, and kind of those elements. And we can go to the next slide. Perfect. I think I covered this maybe a little bit, but the primary objective of an EQA assessment is to highlight the conformance with the standards and make sure the internal audit team is effective with in alignment with its mission as per the internal audit charter, which we're all aware of, aligned with the organization's strategic objectives or expectations. And then we're also evaluating for those best practice improvement opportunities and kind of where we're at with other internal audit departments. Really, at the end of the day, we really want to highlight continuous improvement and enhance efficiency and effectiveness, just to make sure internal audit is as impactful as it can be. We can go to the next one. So overall, our approach was pretty simple, very similar to what like an internal audit of Ade and our team would do. So we evaluate the governance documents, the framework. So we looked at the charter, the internal audit procedures. We did a sample of engagements. So I think we did 3 engagements over 2 years, really highlighting a kind of diverse theme. So we did TDA, and cybersecurity was another one that was the non-in-house one. And then I think many of you may recall we did stakeholder surveys and interviews with staff, members of this audit committee, surveys, just to kind of make sure we're in alignment with the organization and kind of the governance structure. All right, we can go to the next one.
Just want to acknowledge the arrival of Frank Sarabella.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Perfect. And then, so overall, we were in a really good spot in evaluating kind of the impact of internal audit. So remember, there are those 52 standards. In evaluating BERS internal audit compared to those standards, 45 of them were fully conforms. There were 5 generally conforms with some, and what generally conforms to is, it's not that we're missing the mark on the standard. The standard's largely been met. There just is an improvement opportunity there. And then partially conforms, and we can go into the detail on those a little bit later, where in those cases, the standard was largely met as just a documentation issue. So overall, across all the support we looked at and all the standards we evaluated generally conforms. We're in alignment with kind of the industry expectations for internal audit when we're looking at the standards and the code of ethics for internal auditors. Any questions before I go on?
We're looking good. Seems like we're conforming.
Yeah, I think we're in a really good spot, and I'll go into detail on the couple generally conforms and the partially conforms. It would be the second to last slide. But we can do the next slide. So the one thing I like to highlight is successful internal audit practices. So what are we doing right? And if you look at the entire report with each standard, I tried to highlight where we're getting the opportunity and we're kind of meeting the standard, fulfilling the standard as much as possible. So a couple of those I wanted to highlight here is there's strong independence of the internal audit team and governance structure. So those clear reporting lines to the audit committee, we're documenting that within the charter, we're documenting that within the internal audit procedures, and there is that appropriate positioning of kind of internal audit, as I mentioned. You would be surprised kind of the number of internal audits and EQAs we have where we may not necessarily have this due to some limitation across the organization. The next area I want to highlight is that comprehensive audit coverage. So we evaluated the risk assessment. So 23, 24, 25 risk assessment, kind of understood like how those key risks were in alignment with the organization's strategy and kind of how we're building that risk assessment into our audit plan. So from evaluating that, we were able to determine that there's a really good alignment between what BERS management's looking at and what internal audit's looking at, because there sometimes there is internal audit is focused on one direction and the organization is focused on the other. And I think in this case, we're in very good alignment and heading in the same direction. And that's really making sure internal audit has the best impact as possible. The next one is effective stakeholder collaboration. So through our surveys, through our interviews, we got a lot of positive feedback on really highlighting that internal audit's trusted, they're competent in what they do, they're viewed as a trust partner of the organization. If I have an issue in my area, I can reach out to internal audit to kind of help get input or advice, or they really have a good seat at the table. And then the last one is strong, or the second to last one, strong audit documentation for in-house audits. And what I mean by in-house audits, we did a sample of 3. 2 were done internally, 1 was done by a third party. So I really want to highlight for those in-house ones, we did a really good job. The documentation is clear, easy to understand. So in the world of internal audit, we want the work papers to stand on their own. So what I did was I was able to go through all the audit support and come to the same conclusions as the audit team to kind of support those clear audit conclusions and findings that eventually go into that final report. And we looked at everything from planning, fieldwork, and reporting. And then the last one is that structured audit methodology. So we have a very robust and built out internal audit procedures manual that defines everything that our expectations for the team. Here's planning and engagement. Here's what fieldwork looks like. Here are templates and examples to kind of make sure we're as consistent as possible, because that's one of the big struggles in internal audit, where one audit may be done differently from a documentation standpoint from another, so that having those background procedures in place really makes sure we're consistent as much as possible. Any questions before I go on to the second to last slide?
Good, that'll be, will we need some extra conforming on, some extra conformance? Is that the
Yeah, so we can go to the next slide. So essentially what I really want to highlight before I go into this is, so the IIA standards, there's one set of standards, and that applies to large Fortune 500 companies with bigger internal audit teams, larger resources, and smaller teams such as this, right? So sometimes the standards may not consider the governance structure or the environment in which we operate in. And that's kind of in some cases, as well, I'll point out here, could be a challenge. And I can kind of dive in. But the other thing too is when you look at the final report too, there's a couple of other best practices we wanted to highlight based on what we've seen with other clients or what's out in the industry as much as possible. So the big ones are these, and this is what stood out. So the first one is 2.1a, so largely standard 2.1. It covers objectivity. So the big key for internal audit is as independent as possible. And we do have a clear reporting line. If there is anything that could disrupt that independence, a lot of organizations have a objectivity statement or a independent statement that says we are independent of every other department that we're auditing, right? So there's sometimes annual attestations or before we do an audit, we highlight that a little bit differently to make sure, yeah, we are truly independent of this audit client and management in that case. Due to the structure of BEARS, I know there is a conflict of interest form that kind of goes with a separate entity or organization. It's just kind of that feedback loop might be a little bit more challenging. So that's one thing I just wanted to highlight is it's very unique to maybe the structure of BEARS. The next one is kind of the charter and procedures manual. So there were IIE standards dated 2017. They got updated in 2024. They didn't go live. They weren't technically effective until 2025 where we had to be conformance of them. So when you looked at the charter and the procedures manual, there were a couple of opportunities to enhance it a little bit more to make sure we spelled things out maybe a little bit more clearly of kind of what that's looking for, because the 2017 standards compared to the 2024 standards, the 2024 standards are much more robust. And the one thing I do want to highlight there is working with Ade and her team, we already kind of updated everything that should be applicable to those charter and this procedures manual, which I believe has already been reapproved by the audit committee. Was that, Ade, was that in March, if I'm not mistaken? Was that February?
February
Yep.
10th.
5.1 is very similar to 2.1, where making sure we have listed policies or details on protecting information. So we can't, the standards really say explicitly address the misuse of a data that we're collecting as internal auditors, because internal auditors, we really have good insight and good data across the organization. So there's a couple of standards pertaining to making sure we explicitly say how we're protecting the information we're collecting. 8.4A and 8.4B are pretty similar. So we do a really good job of evaluating our own quality. 8.4B is really talking about more periodic assessments. So there is a standard of making sure we're doing those ongoing monitoring to make sure internal audit's really doing a good job of measuring our own performance, making sure we're doing our own EPIC-S compliance check with the standards. There is a part of the standard that's really looking at more of a periodic assessment. And then 8.4B is just these assessments should be done every 5 years. So due to, I think, a structure in COVID would have been a factor, a little bit of a delay on getting that first 5 years started. So I think going forward, I think that would correct itself. 12.3B or D is really looking at when we do performance evaluation, because if we have an internal audit team, we want to really document how they're growing and learning and guiding them for the next level in their career. And per the standards, it's largely based on kind of having formal performance feedbacks that we can tie into a training plan or competency kind of manual and kind of building that out more formalized. This is one standard that I really want to point out that it is harder for a smaller team and maybe less rigid for a smaller team compared to a large team on what that would look like. So we're confident that everyone's kind of doing a really good job on here's the training I have to do. Here is the gaps in my knowledge I have to fill as an internal auditor. It's just more formalizing that a little bit. And then the last one is 3.6D. So like I mentioned before, we looked at 3 sample audits, one being an outsourced audit. And when it came to that one, the documentation was a little bit, the work was well done. It was just more documenting a couple elements of approval of here's the work we're going to perform, or every work paper should have a documented independent review within that place, more of a formalized structure. But like I said before, the 2 in-house audits that we looked at really had all of those elements. It was just the outsourced one that was standing out.
Well, thank you for that. I had no doubt that we would score very high, and I like the feedback on it. what, in terms of your universe of peer comparison, you mentioned mostly Fortune 500 companies are your clients. Do you have other public pension funds as clients potentially? And
We've had in the past, yeah. And I think the one really good, if you look at in the report, there's a table of all the findings, and you can see the green. I think we're in a really good spot, right? There are the one challenge, as I mentioned before, the standards necessarily don't break out if you're a large internal audit shop compared to a smaller internal audit shop, where some of these are, the standards are a little bit more, I'm trying to think of the best word, may not need to be as formalized, right?
Right.
Because
Well,
we're a small team. I know the staff I work with in those elements, but I feel very comfortable with the team's at.
with corporate funds, they have less or more auditing internally than we do. I mean, I know there's more corporate filings in the corporate world that are, I guess, akin to an audit, but it seems like we have multiple audits going on at all times, and for our group to do as well as they did with this, I think it's a testament to leadership.
I would agree.
Agree with that, Jesse?
Ade,
Is what I'm-
yeah. And Ade, is there anything that you also wanted to kind of shine a light to? Or anything I missed?
I don't think you missed anything. I would just add that we've updated our procedures manual to include all of those elements that were not previously included, so.
Any questions?
I think Jesse has one or two more slides. Oh, okay.
Does?
Yeah, it's just questions.
Any questions for Jesse? Anybody? No? Wow.
Perfect.
They usually have a lot of questions, Jesse, so you did really well.
Very
All right.
For a good week, as the auditor of the internal auditor, we give you a good audit review of your audit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I am going to put my email in the chat. If anyone looks through the report or looks at the slide deck again and has any questions, feel free to reach out. Other than that, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with Ade and her team on this and talking to a lot of you when we were doing the surveys and the interviews.
You missed one thing, deficiency of chairperson in the audit. You missed that one. So anyway, okay. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Agenda item number 6 is committee discussion. Can I have a motion? Oh,
We have one internal audit to discuss.
we do?
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's not gonna be.
It's not that. Okay, sorry. I almost trying to let you guys off the, we have one more internal audit to discuss.
Right, so this is the cash account audit, and I'll give a quick background. So the cash account is similar to what we would call a suspense account. In accounting, it's an account that's meant to temporarily hold contributions, payments, and transactions like that. Not for an indefinite period of time, but for a short period of time until they are able to be posted to the member's account. So some of the reasons why transactions will divert to the cash account would be when there's a mismatch in the amount of the transaction or when there are inconsistencies in the account or demographic information. And so those will be routed to the cash account and would require further action before they can be posted. As of November of 2025, there was about $600,000 in the cash account belonging to about 1,000 plus unique members and a total of 9,500 transactions roughly. And this reflects a reduction in the amount of transactions in the cash account compared to our 2021 audit of this area. At that time, there was about $1 million in the account. So there's about a 40% decrease in the
This is
transactions.
essentially like a sweep account.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that
there's-
is due.
Just to, you have to distinguish between the cash account she's talking about, which is transactional operations,
Right.
and the cash account in our investments. Those are
Right.
two separate
Good
things.
distinction to me. Got it.
Right, this is transactional
Okay.
related to operations.
So these are, and I'll go into detail, these are deductions from member paychecks like loans, arrears, payments, and different things. And the reduction is attributable to some effective controls that are in place. And one of them is that there are system generated reports that spit out on a weekly basis and on a periodic basis that provides greater visibility into the transactions that are in the cash account. And that helps to support timely review and resolution of those transactions. And then the other thing is a batch. So after the usual payroll runs, there's an automated batch that follows that payroll run and resolves a significant amount of those transactions that are being held in the cash account, and will post them to the member accounts. Now, after the batch runs, there are still transactions that will remain. And those transactions require manual review before they can be posted. So there are two departments involved. You have the quality assurance department and you have the operations department. So quality assurance is responsible for reviewing and resolving the pension and TDA contributions. So when members make regular pension contributions or TDA, if it ends up in the cash account, the QA department is responsible. And then if it's a loan repayment or an arrears transaction or SCP service credit purchase, the operations team will be responsible. So that's basically the cash account in a nutshell. So objectives of the audit. So we wanted to review accuracy and timeliness by which these transactions are being processed and cleared out of the cash account. And then we also wanted to assess the adequacy and effectiveness of internal controls within the processes, and also assess compliance with any applicable policies, procedures, or laws. We reported this audit in April, so last month, and our scope was for transactions from July 2023 through June of 2025. So there were 4 findings total. So the first one had to do with the timeliness of processing. So we observed a delay in processing cash account transactions. Roughly 42% of transactions were not processed on a timely basis. They were open for up to 26 months. And some of them took up to 25 months to be closed. And these were transactions across loans, SCP, arrears, and they were across various member statuses, both active and inactive. And one of those inactive statuses was the withdrawn status. So when a member is withdrawn, they have either transferred out, refunded out, retired, and so we don't expect them to have any such transactions that you'd expect from an active account. And so we found about 1,300 plus withdrawn accounts that had open transactions in the cash account. So we did make, well, before I get to the recommendations, so management did let us know that these delays were due to competing priorities and some system issues that they've been experiencing with CPMS. And we were also informed that some of those transactions that we're finding in the account are being retained indefinitely, which is against the principle of the cash account. Those
So
were
where those, could they go to the state lost funds?
no,
What is-
so
what is that? Wait, yeah, well,
they belong to members, right?
right,
So,
if the member's gone, if the member's,
so
how long do we hold
if we have to refund them to the members if they're taken in error.
Okay.
Or if they've been refunded, we can refund it to the member. We just have to determine what to do with those transactions. So they're being held in the cash account until we're able to figure out where they belong and, you know, what to do with them, basically. So it's kind of separate from the unclaimed
unclaimed, right? Okay.
funds.
Pension assets cannot be escheated.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the number again? No.
600,000. It was a million, but now it's 600,000.
That's being held because, okay.
Can't be allocated to your fund.
So we did recommend a few things here. So the first was to establish policies and procedures with processing timelines. That way there's a standard by which the department can evaluate itself and make sure that they're held to the standard. We did recommend that those open transactions for withdrawn statuses be prioritized for review because those members may be entitled to additional refunds, revised transfers, revised debt benefits and what have you, but it does require extensive research.
Okay.
To
That's
determine-
labor intensive, I'm assuming.
Right. they
Track
have to
people down.
We recommended that they strengthen monitoring of cash account transactions, address system issues with the CPMS team, also known as the Business Information Systems Management Team. And then we also recommended that those transactions that are being held indefinitely in the cash account be reviewed to determine proper treatment. So management in their response let us know that there's currently a cleanup project for open transactions in the cash account, and that's going to impact their ability to establish a timeline for processing. So they're working on cleanup, and once they're able to complete that, they will develop the policy and procedure document.
So we talked earlier about the money that has not gone over to TRS yet.
Yep.
Is that in here as cash?
No,
No.
no. That cash is in the ACF, which is contributions from members managed through the QPP. It's in the investment account.
It's in the investment. account.
Yeah, this is like a way station for cash going in and out of
Yeah.
operations.
And for some reason, it didn't make it to the target, and it's kind of used as a
Yeah.
general account.
I misunderstood when I looked at page 4, and then when it's saying withdrawn retirement funded transferred out deceased membership in heirs, I assumed it was considered under transferred out.
Because they haven't
So
transferred out yet.
If a member,
I was like, what's the definition here? Okay.
if a member is transferring out,
Yeah.
right, their entire account balance gets transferred. So if they have transactions, contributions, loans, whatever it is in the cash account, that comes into play because we have to make sure that those are resolved before they are transferred. If they're transferred and those transactions are still being held,
Yeah.
then their transfer would have to be revised. Sometimes they could have been transferred before those transactions come in. So it's not always that the transfer was erroneous. Those open transactions could be inserted after they've been transferred, depending on what's going on with the member. So there is a connection.
Yeah, I gave you an 85% correct answer. It's like at the margin, there's some.
Think of corporate action, you
There's
get in your
wash in there.
portfolio after it's done, it comes in.
And that's a classic example. So if a member is transferred out,
Yeah.
right, if deductions are coming in, they don't have an account, so it's gonna go right to the cash account.
I had a question. No, I have a question. So past tense. I was thinking about,
Remember, Sap, you're acknowledged.
thank you. Look, there's a fine line between power and abuse of power, homie.
Where'd you go?
So can someone just clarify, when you have one member coming from BERS, say for instance, BERS has particular investments that maybe TRS does not have, is that why it's such a long, it takes a long period in order to transfer people?
Can I respond? I think it's more like when the legislation said we would do reduce class size, but didn't give a lot more details than that. And they just give you, oh, within 5 years, you have the ability to interpret that, because they left it way too open-ended, that it's really up to interpretation. So the thing is that there's no legality here that is being broken, because they just didn't put enough details in the legislation when the time was, hey, do you want to opt out over? Because it sounds like they did a really rushed job to try to bolster up TRS enrollment.
Sandy, also, I remember hearing early on that there was some dispute in calculations between BERS and TRS and the TDA. Are those little those chickens coming home to roost essentially as we're making these transfer?
No, those relate to the TDA variable and the rebalance. You're gonna actually hear some little bit about that from the board meeting, because there's a rebalancing proposal coming from the actuary. Now that's I call that the last great mystery of BERS. We have like a $340 million reserve account related to money that accumulates that probably should go to individual members, but we can't track because of the way the legislation requires. This is oversimplifying it. But legislation requires a certain date, you set the money amount. So Tony, you wanna liquidate your TDA account. You notice us today. We set the value, end of the month, pay you end of the next month. approximately.
Okay.
This is not detailed. So any change in NAV from the date we value it to the date we distribute,
Right.
we just keep. If it's positive, if it's negative, we just absorb.
Wow.
And that's set in legislation. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, but it is what it is, legislation.
Okay.
But to get back.
So this
to
$1 million
question-
account is, the 600,000 is nothing compared to
Well,
that.
we had accumulated over $600 million, and in 2018, 2017, do you remember, Michael, which date it was? Well, anyway, the controller said, this is the big transaction where they took the TDA fixed, merged it with the QPP, took the $600 million and reduced the city budget with it. Yeah. And basically put the city as a guarantor of the TDA fixed as a result, which, at the time trustees were worried about it, but when I said, well, you no longer have cash supporting it, you have cash plus New York City.
Right.
Which is like, still an investment grade credit, so, it's a good thing. But actually, to get back to Maisha's question, a large part of the delays that are resulting from the transfer, the 551, is verifying data. So verifying service data, verifying contributions to TDA, and then all that stuff, once we think it's accurate as a group for an individual, send it over to the actuary, they approve it. And then we do a transfer and the transfer is the MCAF, the AMC, and the TDA funds. So it's like a whole series of steps, beginning with recognition of their desire to move, validation and updating of the data. Actuary reviews it, approves it. We send the data off to TRS, and there's an adjustment in the investment accounts. It's just an administrative adjustment because, it's,
AI at its finest.
well, in a $325 billion fund, these are kind of immaterial to the flows. So it's in the vastness of the flows in the system, it's nothing.
And
There's
clean
there's
data
actually
is
a-
vital.
there's a
Clean data
cash
is vital.
desk.
Having this clean from the beginning is on set,
Yeah.
right? That's what we say
Yes.
with everything.
Yeah.
Clean data in, garbage in, garbage out, clean data in, clean numbers out.
Well, that's always been one of the mysteries, because BAM has a cash desk, which is empowered to manage all this. Money flows from managers, money flows between the systems, contributions, new investments, all that stuff. It's managed by a cash desk. And actually, they only started reporting to us performance numbers on that cash desk in the
2
last,
years ago, 2 years.
yeah, last year or
March,
two.
yeah.
because it's so complicated to figure out. There's so many cash flows.
Right, and
Yeah.
but ultimately, it all has to balance out. Ultimately, it all has to, right.
This is one of those, because
Theoretically.
well, just to give you a little bit of a chill, just a little bit of a chill.
It's all good.
When State Street was hired and the old custodian was fired, there was a statistically significant difference in the amount of value that State Street recognized versus what the custodian who transferred it recognized.
The valuations are big. That's a huge issue, actually.
It's a huge
It's
issue.
a huge
It's a
issue. Valuations differ from bank to bank
Right.
on existing portfolios. It's crazy.
Baselines differ,
It-
people's data differs, and that's, yeah.
Yeah, BERS wrote off $220 million on that transfer.
Well, Mark,
did.
like, there used to be a guy who worked in teachers who's now an outside entity that does valuations, and when we hire them, we pay them too, so we should have evaluated, that should be the baseline.
Well, just,
That's not my, I listen.
We'll see what- they're looking for a new custodian now. If it's not State Street, it'll be interesting to see what happens. In
We
there.
were up there for 4 years.
Did we? Okay, I didn't know.
We
When was that? This last
PRS, we
week?
did it in November. We did
In
it,
November?
they rushed it in before the new term of,
Really?
yes. It was one of the things that I complained
How come
about.
we didn't have to approve it?
Did
That's
it,
weird.
it was one of my many complaints at the other board that I'm not
All
allowed to
right.
talk about. Yeah,
Thank you.
securities lending, all done. So I thought it was unfair to do that before the new controller. That's just me, crazy me,
Nice.
but okay, anyway,
Okay, so.
sorry.
So finding number 2 and 3, I'll take them together. They're very similar. They're very similar in that transactions were closed without reflecting the adjustment. So usually when a transaction is closed, the adjusting transaction is reflected in the account. So we found instances where that wasn't reflected, and in some cases it was duplicated. Some of this was due to human error, some of this was due to system error, and management acknowledged both and is requesting data fixes from the CPMS team to resolve that issue. They're also creating reports to assist in identifying exceptions and resolving those sort of issues. And then the last one is regarding interest. So when contributions are posted to accounts, interest may be due to a member, and there's a recast batch that will calculate that interest and post it. And we found a few instances where interest was not calculated or posted to members who should have received interest. And we found an instance where an account that should not have received interest received interest. So management has rectified those and rerun the interest batch to identify any other cases out there that may be due interest. Those are the findings for this audit. I've summarized the responses from management. These are the audits that are currently ongoing. We always have a few of these at any point in time. So we have the loans audit. So we're reviewing the loans process right now. Financial reporting, we're reviewing the reports, key reports that roll up into the financials, not the actual financials. There's a third-party auditor that reviews the financials. And then one that we just kicked off is membership service arrears. So this is when contributions are due for membership service credit. We're reviewing that process. And then there are two externals. So one of them is the DFS audit that Sandy talked about earlier. We're in the crux of it. We're at 91 requests deep at this point, and hope to wrap that up soon. And the administrative review. So this is on behalf of the controller by Buck Global, and they do an administrative review of NYCBERS and an actuarial review of the actuary as well.
So when they interviewed me, right?
I don't think they've reached out to you. So just a quick update on remediation since this committee last met. So the IT team has developed an incident response plan for detecting and responding to cybersecurity events. There's a go-live checklist to track system implementations and upgrades. The call center software was rolled out maybe 2 weeks ago, Sandy, in April, and it's supporting both the call center and the organization as a whole with an upgrade to our phone systems. And it's still early, but what I'm hearing from membership communications is that now they are able to see data in real time. And that is helpful for them in prioritizing, how the calls are being answered and how their operations as a whole. And they also deployed an MSS survey, the member communications team. So they surveyed all users of MSS, both new and old, to get feedback on the system functionalities. These are a few of the high-risk findings that are still open. Recalculation of death benefits. There have been some system issues. There have been a couple of delays with this due to CPMS issues. There are several pending tickets to resolve those and resolve the issue with prior service applications. There are also issues around segregation of duties when it comes to processing manual refunds. That's also waiting for CPMS. So a lot of these are waiting for system improvements. And there is the agreement that was discussed earlier with TRS that we're still missing. And there's been an update to there's been a draft of the procurement policies and procedures specific to NYCBERS that's been reviewed by New York City Legal. And so we don't have a timeline for when that review.
Where's the policy?
It's going on 5 months since we've submitted.
Could be worse, could be like the lease.
So lastly, this is just an update on the internal audit strategy. This is a requirement of the standards that we review this every year. So I did the review this year and I had to adjust some of the timelines for our strategic objectives. The first is regarding software. So we are actively engaged with 2 vendors. We had an RFP that didn't yield the results we were looking for. And so we had to pivot to directly engaging with the vendors, and we're speaking to 2 of them. Sandy gave his blessing yesterday on one of them.
Yes, I did.
So
Blame me, Anthony.
pretty close. Staffing was talked about earlier. We are requesting 2 headcount in the budget. Well, when I put this up, we were actively recruiting for 2 temps. We extended an offer to 1 and hope to start in June, but it's just a temp. Doesn't really solve our problems, but it's some help that we could use. Third strategic objective is to increase the number of audits that we're performing. That ties directly to getting that software and getting headcount.
More audits. Okay, great. More audits.
Reducing our timeline. So our audits are taking longer than we would like, and we want to be able to reduce that to 3 to 4 months in the future. Again, directly ties to having software and headcount. And last strategic objective is to overall strengthen our processes and methodologies. So we've updated the charter, the procedures manual, and we made sure that our work papers are standardized. We did the EQA, which Jesse reported on a short time ago. And we are rolling out an updated internal self-assessment process.
So,
I'll take any questions if there are any.
any questions?
Can you just generally discuss the importance of death benefits? The recalculation of them, like what does that look like for us members?
Okay, well, the members are deceased, right?
Right.
And so their beneficiaries are due death benefits. And they've been paid out. And then I forget the exact time frame, but the formulas change slightly, right? The age reduction, I believe it changed from 60 or something like that. But there's a change in that formula that the actuary informed us of. And they gave us a list of 29 cases that needed to be recalculated. So what needed to happen was update the system because the calculations are done in the system in CPMS. So the system needs to be updated to reflect those new formulas for the calculation. And the change results in a higher death benefit to the beneficiary. So we owe the beneficiaries additional payments. And so, the team did some initial recalculations and then they discovered an error in the calculation. And so it's pending improvement of the system.
So do you have relatives calling, saying, hey, check these calculations, or is it something that you kind of self-correct within the?
It's more of a
software?
self-correction because I seriously doubt that those beneficiaries are aware
Nope.
that they're.
Not even-
You get an extra check. It's like, wow.
Yes.
They'll call the number changes.
Yeah, they get an additional check.
A lot of the members don't even really understand in the weeds of this.
I
And
get
so then
that.
once it gets to the beneficiary level,
Mhm.
like how, maybe they don't even know where the contract is to even look at it.
We really need to open up that conversation. We need to open up that conversation. The CRM, I believe, the initial, I asked my brother-in-law to download the information initially coming on this board, and some of the workshops, there was a information workshop for members to have a better understanding. And those were some of the things that really excited me about being on the board, and to see some of that come to fruition is it's so important for people to have more of a say. This is not 1955. We have the ability to initiate a hell of a lot more information going to the members, and
You can see DC 37.
normalizing this conversation. More people are so much more aware of finance now because of the information online. Poke fun at social media, but grandma knows what a side hustle is now, and her grandbabies, you know, who sometimes have to dumb down in school because they're actually pushing real numbers. So we really need to be aware of this shift in information. So I just stated that because in real time, I'm seeing, you know, what this looks like. And it's like, damn, this is not industrial age anymore where you have to really look for information. These kids, you know, you have people, Sandy, now who are understanding the importance of Fortnite and understanding the importance of the gaming. You remember we used to sleep on that until the first multi-billionaire broke out of that system, and now they're the hand gestures with the Fortnite and the tools they're using to adapt to learning investments. So you do the same motion and you know, and make money and stuff. So, you know.
The beneficiaries won't use Fortnite at least this week in situation, I think. So, but to that end, though, DC 37, actually, their new building has a great call center. Their call center is really top of the line, top notch to deal with people coming in with pension questions. I'm sure our call center, if we ever get it lease done, will be fantastic, because that's ultimately where, right, it's about the people ultimately. So that's why we do what we do.
Efficiency.
So to that level, we have one agenda item, right, to new business
Well,
with another one? Yeah, motion to consider new business.
My motion.
Shirley, second, Maisha. Okay, so I mean, I'm gonna bring up a topic. It's a topic I think that's really brutal on the PEP side, but AI is changing everything. We are in the middle of the industrial revolution with the tech boom on steroids. And a lot of the things a lot of the systems that are being in place. I did a talk last week with at the Economic Club in New York with City of Birmingham and Colorado Power. City of Birmingham has no electronic system for allocating their pension benefits. It's done manually by person on an individual basis. It's crazy. But interestingly enough, after the conversation, I connected her, she's also the project manager for the City of Birmingham, and she's on the pension trustee. I sent her an AI company to frame out how to do this in a much cheaper way than we would ever be able to do it, and what teachers would ever be able to do it. The game has changed dramatically, and it's something that we as trustees need to consider, because the costs are going to be, if we're the ones still paying the old school number and everyone else is paying the new school number, then guess who's losing? Our benefits. So it's just something, and I know I'm saying, I think that the parents of the PEP, they don't want to get paid because A and I are next to each other. We gotta stop being afraid of what AI is, you know? I think we need a better baseline definition of what it is and where it's gonna bring efficiencies. I understand why we're concerned about it with our kids, but in efficiencies within the processes that do this, we have to embrace that. So that's the rest of the world, and we're gonna be behind it.
Do you want that to be a subject of a presentation at the board? Because we've established AI use guidelines in violation of New York City's prohibition. I mean, New York City prohibits
They
it,
prohibit it, right?
right? But we are establishing guidelines. We've already begun considering its implementation in fiscal ops through NetSuite, through our operating system Velocity, because Velocity, Vitech was bought by Majesco. Their entire profile of their business is using artificial intelligence to improve ERP systems. And we would, I think that they're having a big unveil in the end of June. I don't know. I'm invited to a big meeting where they're unveiling their product enhancements. So we are going to dive right in.
I think a breast tax discussion, because I think people are conflating what the media cultural kind of Terminator fear versus, you know, kids not reading books anymore and cognitive, these are all valid questions, but I think focuses on the wrong things.
Context is important.
Perfect. That's a perfect answer.
And Sandy, this is really exciting. This excites me. But what Tony just said, is this compared to BERS before it became automated? What was the retirement system you said is still doing things?
City of Birmingham. City of Birmingham is by spreadsheet.
So is
Probably
that
by
what you call
card or
free
spreadsheet.
automated, getting
Yeah,
them?
yeah, so what happened was the police was the first one that went corpus funding, where they became their own agency. And that's when everyone started getting their own computer systems.
In Birmingham?
No,
No, here,
New York.
New York
Oh,
City.
okay.
The New York City Police were the first ones, you know, to get corpus funding where, and now all the funds, fire is the last one in, and that's why fire's been kind of crapped on. In terms of getting a good computer system, good system in place, right? I can speak to, right, they're behind the 8 ball, they have to have double sign-offs from the mayor and the controller to get things done. So when you're late to the game, you get shafted, and I'm saying we can't be late to the game here for our beneficiaries.
Yeah, we won't be. We've got the advantage of OMB does not have a vote on our board. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Right.
I mean, they have influence, so, you know, Omer will influence your votes on the budget, where we'll ask for 40 and he'll say, no, I think it should be 5, and then you'll approve 5, right? And then we'll come back. So we understand that. But I mean, where OMB has a veto, they have been vetoing a lot.
But be aware, in corporate America, $600 trillion of investments in the next 3 years into AI, and they're saying that's light. Corporate America has said the opposite of what our fears are as parents. They're saying, we know there's hallucinations, we know there's gonna be data breaches. It doesn't matter. It's the level of production, the increase in production value is so much more valuable that that's gonna be breakage. We're gonna include that in the price of business. And it's fast flow. And I'm just concerned, you know, we're translating into pep talk. Our kids are already behind the 8 ball.
So again.
If we're not letting them stay, we're not teaching them, we're gonna be further behind.
It goes back to, again, just talking about Robert Smith real quick. And Robert Smith actually explains this shift. Now, again, you know, I know I'm all kumbaya and stuff, but there's nothing that takes motion that doesn't have push and pull. There's tension in everything you do, even the breath that you take. There's both sides of the coin.
And you're talking about last Friday's
Talk-
leadership series
Yeah.
with Robert Smith?
Okay,
Yeah, it was good.
thank you, Al.
Just in case.
Thank you, Alan.
Joel's been very good with it.
So, and so he does talk about, the transit. First of all, the whole investment part is black man. Yes, I did say that. Because his pipeline is very specific and we need more of it. And I love the fact that he is building the vehicles. If you build it, they will come. That is his whole premise. He's not trying to fit in. He's like, you know what? If I build it, they will come. So now he got, and I'll mention this in the meeting after, SaaS, software as a service, and he's building these services that are incorporating AI agents. He's not asking for permission, and he's just given notice. And if you want to mess with him and you want to really benefit from what it is that he's doing, he's letting you know where he's standing. So context is important. It definitely is important. But as far as this investment vehicle, he's by far one of the greatest at it.
Everybody's flying. The money's flying. And we said, and we're in the middle of this thing, right? As a board of educational board, of pension, multiple pension boards that we affect. We have to be aware of it. So, and this has been a topic that we're gonna be talking about for a long time.
But at least we're actually understanding. I think BERS is very, and I know they've done, they tried to keep it separate, but BERS and PEP are like synergist. It's.
TRS is using AI for their call routing even. They're using it already in their call routing system. So it's here. It's here already. It's here already. And I just don't want our kids who are already behind the 8 ball, you know, to get further behind the 8 ball. But that's a different story.
But we're talking about security as well, so let's be
Certainly.
careful. Okay.
I think so. Not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah.
It's all important. It's all. But anyway, I will say the most to adjourn. We have about a half an hour to the BERS meeting. So we'll get some calls done before then. Thank you very
We need
much.
a motion to adjourn.
Right, all right. So I will, thank you very much. Congratulations on the internal audit of the audit being positive. And
QA was very good.
yeah, and with that, I'd send a motion to adjourn. Anyone?
Second, Alice?
Brenda, second from, Alice.
Yes.
Gotta get you on the minutes. We are adjourned. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? It carries. We are adjourned.